The Nightmare of the Labyrinth. Official threat rating. Legendary class. Unofficial threat rating, please just don't. Made its debut in the Great Elro Labyrinth in Kingdom Calendar Year 841. When monsters in the labyrinth started behaving abnormally, as opposed to their normal, perfectly civilized monster behavior, the Oats Kingdom asked the Rensant Empire for help. The Empire, ever obliging, dispatched a team of knights who took one look at the nightmare and immediately agreed that retreating was the smartest thing they'd ever done. Credit where it's due. The Empire followed up by sending an elite force led by the summoned knight Buramus, which went about as well as you'd expect. The nightmare left exactly one survivor, Buramus himself. The official report filed afterward by the Rensant Empire's intelligence office, presumably written by someone who wasn't there, since everyone who was there was dead or otherwise occupied with having a breakdown, estimated the nightmare's threat level as high legendary, with possible divine class potential under extreme circumstances. This is the kind of sentence that tells you the person writing it had access to the survivor count but declined to think too hard about what it implied. Later, not content with having thoroughly embarrassed the Empire underground, the nightmare took its show on the road and destroyed the Elro fortress in Oats. For good measure, a Queen Terratect then burst out of the labyrinth and obliterated Mount Uween with a single breath attack before casually retreating underground. Whether the Queen was acting on the nightmare's orders or simply felt like leveling a mountain that afternoon remains unclear. The Empire's follow-up analysis concluded that the two events were likely unrelated, which is the intelligence community's way of saying, we have no idea and we'd prefer not to. The official record also notes, as a postscript, that the nightmare's estimated magic reserves were significant, though precise measurement proved difficult due to the death of all measurement personnel. The document does not appear to notice that this sentence undermines every confidence rating that preceded it. In year 842, the nightmare relocated to Keren County in Sariella, and a remarkable pivot, started healing sick villagers, culling the local bandit population, and chasing off monsters. The locals, naturally, declared it a divine beast and a living embodiment of the goddess. Oats was not charmed. They demanded Sariella hand over the creature that had blown up their fortress and killed their soldiers, which Sariella declined. Relations between the two countries, already strained by their opposing religious convictions, got considerably worse. Then the Ots diplomat sent to negotiate died under unexplained circumstances, the leading theories being the nightmare did it and Sariella did it, with most historians settling on someone definitely did it. War was declared. At the Tragedy of Zatona, Sariella's 42,000 soldiers faced Oats' coalition of 53,000. The nightmare showed up on Sariella's side and, with a single magical attack, annihilated 10% of the Oats alliance. And yes, annihilated means no corpses. Just gone. This crushed the Oats coalition's morale with admirable efficiency. After that, the historical record becomes a muddle of contradictory survivor accounts. Some say the nightmare went berserk. Others say it was fighting something else entirely. What everyone agrees on is that both sides suffered catastrophic losses. The nightmare vanished. No corpse was found, which one particularly stubborn court mage of the Empire refuses to accept as evidence of death. Not a cloud in the sky. Perfect weather for a picnic. Absolutely terrible weather for what is currently happening. A baby is marching along a mountain path like a tiny, pallid general of some doomed army. Her HP is dropping. Her SP is at 0. Her MP is nearly drained. She is, technically speaking, a progenitor vampire with skills that include telepathy LV7, parallel thinking LV5, and the delightfully named N%I=W, which is exactly as ominous as it sounds. Her name is Sophia, previously Shoko Nagishi, high school student nicknamed Rihoko, short for Real Horror Girl, because teenagers are truly the cruelest creatures on Earth. And she is currently walking because she has no choice in the matter. The reason she has no choice in the matter is that someone has wrapped thread around her limbs and is controlling her like a puppet. That someone is me, and I want to be very clear. I'm not doing this to be mean. I'm doing this because I'm bored, and also because it's the most efficient training method I've ever seen, and also because it started out as an attempt to earn the puppet user skill and then sort of evolved on its own. Look, the Demon Lord explained to Vampy and Mera why this is actually good for them, and they went along with it. So legally speaking, we're all fine here. I have her practice water magic and ice magic on the move, since there's no reason to waste time just walking when you can walk and improve your magical abilities simultaneously. It's multitasking, it's efficiency, it's a perfectly normal child-rearing philosophy. Vampy hits her limit. I release the thread. She faceplants immediately and lies face down on the mountain path without so much as a twitch. Mera panics and rushes over, calling her name, checking her breathing, generally making a fuss. She's fine. Eyes rolled back, mouth frothing slightly, but fine. I stopped well before the actually killing her threshold. I start cooking while Mera administers emergency first aid. I pull a frying pan and ingredients out of spatial storage. The cooking supplies are things I borrowed from Vampy's former home while it was on fire, which technically counts as looting, except Mera and Vampy both gave me permission, except I still somehow acquired a skill called Usurp, which seems like an overreaction from the system, and get to work. 1 plate of meat goes to Vampy when she wakes up. 1 plate of meat goes to Mera. The meat looks, frankly, alarming. It is, in fact, poisonous. This is intentional. Repeated exposure will raise their poison resistance and eventually net them the foul feeder title. I am cooking myself a perfectly normal, non-poisonous sandwich, and Vampy is staring at it with an expression of naked betrayal. Mera politely requests normal food for the young miss. I know I should respond. I spend approximately 10 seconds panicking internally, count down from 10, consider responding, and then Vampy cuts in via telepathy with, "It's all right, Merazophis. I'm sure she's not going to listen to you." Mera sighs. I go back to cooking. An excellent outcome for everyone. "Thanks," says the Demon Lord, accepting her sandwich with a guileless grin. The Demon Lord is Ariel. She looks like she's in her early teens. She is ancient beyond reason, unfathomably powerful, and was, until recently, my mortal enemy. We are now traveling together because we reached a stalemate where neither of us had anything to gain from continued conflict. Or, to be precise, she has a way around my immortality skill, and I had run out of eggs for my egg revival backup plan, so I had to agree to a truce at a rather awkward moment. We keep a close eye on each other. It's more of a cold war than an alliance. I'm working on my skills every day, just in case. Traveling with someone you used to be trying to kill is exactly as relaxing as it sounds. As for why I'm looking after Vampy and Mera at all, I feel approximately 10% responsible for the war that destroyed their home. Sariella and Oates were already on terrible terms, but Sariella had adopted a religion centered on a certain divine spider, and Oates had reason to be annoyed at said spider for blowing up their fortress, and one thing led to another. The truth is, I feel a little bad about it. Don't tell anyone. Meanwhile, my parallel minds, which I had to evict from my own body after they ate Mother's soul and got weird about it, have apparently been spending my skill points without asking. I keep discovering new skills I've never seen before. For instance, I recently used fire magic to light the cooking fire. Fire is my biggest weakness. That skill must have cost an enormous number of points. I checked my stash. It had. I want to complain, but they're technically improving my abilities, and I can't find them, and the Demon Lord is right here, so I'm choosing to be the adult and let it go, I hope. Meeting of the Parallel Minds, 1. We've got skills. Let's get some skills. All of them. Gimme every skill. Well, we can't get all of them. Well, let's at least pin down the different magic skills. Agreed. Wait a second. Fire magic costs 10,000 skill points? 10,000? Lol. Goes to show how bad we are with fire. Boop! You did it anyway. Never give up. Never surrender. That's the kind of line people say right before dying. Well, we've got it now, but what are we going to do with it? The level 1 spell is just Ember, and I bet it's going to take a lot of work to level it up. Never ask questions. I don't think that's part of the quote. Elsewhere, Elder Ronandt, court sorcerer of the Rengsant Empire, technically under house arrest, and apparently fine with ignoring both of those facts, is traveling to investigate the nightmare's last known location. He is accompanied by Aurel, his 7 or 8-year-old attendant and the daughter of a minor noble family, who has described herself as a lovely lady and whose bottom hurts from the carriage ride. Ronandt has been casting healing magic on said bottom with the resigned air of a man who made several poor decisions to arrive at this moment. Ronandt is a complicated figure. He was present during the disastrous Labyrinth battle. He survived. Burimus, who also survived, took all the official blame for the defeat, and was essentially sent to the Mystic Mountains to die quietly. Ronandt, who arguably caused the whole disaster by arrogantly setting fire to the Nightmare's nest without thinking, received house arrest. He has feelings about this, specifically the feeling that he does not deserve to feel bad because the creature that humiliated him was genuinely astonishing and he needs to find it immediately and become its apprentice. This is, to be clear, his actual plan. They arrive at the former Karen County seat, now under Alt's occupation. Ronandt browbeats his way past the soldiers at the gate by announcing himself loudly and with great confidence. He was never officially supposed to be here, but confidence gets you surprisingly far in this world. His luck then promptly fails him. The commanding officer who comes out to meet him is Tiva, one of the Empire's most diligent knights, who greets Ronandt with a smile of perfect professional warmth that very clearly communicates, "What are you doing here, and how do I make you stop?" "I have come to seek information about the nightmare," Ronandt explains. "I see, and you would like to exact revenge?" Tiva asks, somehow already knowing everything. "I wish to become its apprentice," Ronandt announces. Tiva looks at him for a long moment. "Are you a complete fool?" he says. Then, correcting himself, excuse me. I shouldn't have phrased that as a question. You are a complete fool." Ariel gazes at Tiva with admiring eyes. Ronandt seethes. Tiva departs to deal with an urgent matter, but not before confining Ronandt to the town and leaving him feeling thoroughly managed. Ronandt wanders the streets, using magic power perception, noting the signs of the occupation's brutality, burned houses, the smell of smoke and death, until he finds what he's looking for, a large mansion radiating an unnaturally sparse flow of magic energy. It feels like something significant was very carefully erased from this place. A Word of God soldier blocks the entrance. The Word of God is a massive religious organization based in the Holy Kingdom of Elias, and their soldiers are immune to being impressed by the Rengshant Empire's court sorcerer title. Ronandt is told, "I am sorry," 3 times in succession, and gets nothing. As he contemplates whether knocking out the soldier will be worth the political consequences, an elderly man emerges from inside. He has a warm smile, the kind that makes you feel instantly at ease, and something about him that makes every instinct Ronandt has scream quietly. "I am but a humble old man," says the man who is very clearly the pontiff of the Word of God, "albeit one with a minor connection to the Word of God, yes?" "Very well," Ronandt agrees, because some hornets' nests do not need poking. The old man cheerfully tells him he can go inside the mansion if he wishes. "After all, you will not find anything here," and strolls away. Ronandt enters and finds, as promised, nothing. Faint traces of a battle, excavated wall sections, an unusually thin flow of magic. Whatever happened here has been very thoroughly cleaned up. He leaves with one connection made. The pontiff himself was investigating this place, and no actual information about the nightmare's whereabouts. He teleports to the great Elro Labyrinth, where his chances of finding answers are better, and Tiva cannot follow. "My name in my old life was Shoko Nagishi. My nickname was Rihoko, short for Real Horror Girl, which tells you most of what you need to know about how high school went. I was ugly, extremely pale skin, sunken cheeks, uneven teeth with one prominently jutting canine, a scrawny, bony figure, the kind of face that made mirrors feel like they were judging you. I knew it, the people around me knew it, and the nicknames confirmed it. In middle school they called me the Vampire, which at least turned out to be foreshadowing. Hiro Wakaba, on the other hand, was beautiful. The first time I saw her, I genuinely couldn't believe someone that pretty existed outside of illustrations. She was my proof that good looks equals winning at life. I was jealous of her for all of high school, and I hated myself for being jealous, and I hated her for making me feel jealous. And the whole thing was exhausting and small, and I knew even then that it was exhausting and small, which made it worse. And now I've been reincarnated as a vampire, and Hiro Wakaba is apparently an arachne called White, and she's somehow still beautiful, and she's been using me as a puppet for exercise, and she cooked my dinner, and it was poisonous. Okay, we're going to spend the night in that town. You wait around here, K. White? Serves her right. I'm not proud of thinking that, but I am thinking it. White, in her current half-spider monster form, cannot enter the town. Ariel, Merazophis, and I can. We get an inn, a bed, a proper meal. White gets the forest. Ariel makes sure to tell her she'll enjoy it twice as much on White's behalf, which causes a quantity of silent, intimidating aura to crackle through the air. And for a moment, I genuinely think they might actually fight. They don't. They've agreed on a truce, even if neither of them likes it. But it's a reminder that traveling between these two is genuinely terrible for one's health. Merazophis carries me into town. It's been so long since he's carried me that for a moment I was about to walk in myself on my own 2 feet, which is proof that whatever White is doing to me is working, and I'd rather not think about that. In the inn room, Ariel rolls around on the bed with complete shamelessness, and then catches me staring, and correctly guesses that I'm finding it hard to reconcile the concept of Demon Lord with the teenage girl currently doing this. She admits, cheerfully, that she's being nice to us partly out of self-interest. Keeping us safe makes White think better of her, which is a point in Ariel's favor. When Merazophis returns from his errands, she delivers the "nothing in life is ever free" speech clearly intended for him, essentially telling him to stop being so guarded. He receives this information with the expression of a man who does not fully believe it, but is choosing to accept it anyway. His parting shot: if that is the case, then should you not be kinder toward Lady White herself? Ah, it hurts. Don't point that out. It's too painful. Ariel dramatically slaps her own cheek. Behind the performance, something flickers in her eyes that seems much more genuine. Even someone with her depth of experience, apparently, has a complicated time with White. The young miss is asleep. Good. She should sleep. Her body is still that of a baby, and whatever White has been doing to it should probably come with a warning label. I am not sleeping. I cannot sleep yet. Lady Ariel broached the topic with her usual bluntness. Was I not going to go get some blood? Because, she pointed out, Sophia is a progenitor and doesn't need to drink blood. But I am a regular vampire, and monster blood can delay the hunger, but it cannot feed it properly. And I have been getting noticeably weaker. She's right. She's been right for a while. She brought us to this town for this reason, and I have been pretending otherwise. What I am is a man who, in order to protect the young miss from a man who would have killed us both, when it permitted her to drink his blood and became a vampire in the process. I have no regrets about the choice. To have regrets would be to wish I had let us die, and I would never wish that. But the choice came with a cost I am still failing to pay. I cannot protect her as I am. My body is slowing, my senses are dulling. I have been cared for by Lady Ariel and Lady White, and even by the young miss herself, when she should be the one being cared for. This is backward. I walk out into the night. A young adventurer passes me. Her neck is tanned, healthy. The sword at her hip is well used. My instincts recognize her as prey before my conscious mind has a chance to object, and the horror of that recognition does not stop my feet from following her. I speak to her. Activate Magic Eye. She shakes it off faster than I expected. She's experienced enough to avoid prolonged eye contact, and draws her sword. The blade goes through my shoulder and pins me to a wall, which would have immobilized a human. I am not a human. I push myself off the wall and forward, ignoring the sword still in my shoulder, and get a hand around her neck before she can retreat. Magic Eye at full force, throat constriction. The light goes out of her eyes. I sink my fangs into her neck. I induce her to forget what happened tonight before I leave. I do not know if it worked. I could not stay to check. Lady Ariel greets me when I return. I nod. I cannot find words. I go to the bedroom and sit on the floor beside the young Miss's sleeping form and clasp my hands together and tremble and pray. The blood was intoxicating. I nearly lost control. I am terrified of what I almost became. I am also still going to need to do it again. Just for tonight, forgive me for showing weakness. Left behind. Again, left alone. On my own. The Demon Lord and company are having a lovely time at a nice inn with soft beds and actual meals. I am eating roasted monster meat alone in the forest. I would like it noted that this is extremely unfair. 2 puppet spiders sit watching me. They're mannequin-shaped monsters, controlled by palm-sized spiders from the inside, dispatched by the Demon Lord to keep an eye on me. They have no expressions. I can still tell they're jealous of my meat. I wave a piece back and forth. The outer puppet doesn't move, but the spider inside tracks it perfectly. I hold out a portion to them. They want it, but are visibly torn. Should they really accept food from the person they're surveilling? I push the meat into their hands and go back to eating mine. Eventually, one of them eats it by unhinges its jaw, shoving its entire arm into its own mouth and feeding the spider within. The other follows. This is deeply unsettling to witness. These things are somehow more ladylike than I am. They're technically female, being products of the Demon Lord's egg-laying skill. They can use weapons, follow orders, and have clearly distinct personalities. One proactive and bold, one hesitant and timid, despite being mannequins. I did not expect to be shown up in the feminine grace department by dolls. And yet here we are. All I'm wearing is a cloth scrap. This is fine for a spider, less fine for a humanoid. I have arms now. I should have clothes. I produce thread, use thread control to weave it into fabric, and cut it into clothing. Divine thread weaving is maxed out. Mother used this skill to create camouflage indistinguishable from labyrinth walls. I am using it to make a dress, which is probably the most ridiculous downgrade in the history of the skill, but the results are genuinely excellent. I keep it simple. Kiss principle, white fabric, no frills, tapered sleeves and waist, bust left loose enough not to be embarrassing. I infuse SP and MP as I work. It ends up with more defensive power than the design would suggest, and a slightly mystical air. I'd put this in a fashion show. I show it off to the puppet spiders, who applaud with all 6 of their hands. Then one of them starts imitating me to make clothes of its own. The other follows. I help them along, going slowly enough for them to keep up. They haven't reached divine thread weaving yet, and their 6 arms require a different pattern. We work through the night, which is fine because we all have status condition nullification and don't need sleep. By the time the party returns from town, the puppet spiders are wearing the results. Well, that's weird. Did we always have this many cuties in our party? The Demon Lord looks genuinely baffled. Vampy is staring. Even Mera, holding the baby, looks mildly surprised. No one is looking at my dress. I improved the puppet units, I say. Yeah, I can see that. Ariel tilts her head. I meant to send surveillance constructs. You've given me a fashion house. She looks at them from multiple angles with the expression of someone trying to decide if this is impressive or offensive. Are those lace cuffs? Thread control. 6-arm technique. Right. She looks at me, looks at the puppets, looks at me again. So your plan was to make yourself cuter than my puppets, and then the puppets started making clothes, and now they're winning. That is a reductive interpretation of events. White. She points. One puppet has a ribbon, the other has matching shoes. They were both made from scraps I trimmed off my own dress because I had leftover material. You gave them accessories. I had nothing to add to this. I still have nothing to add to this. Well, Ariel says, visibly enjoying herself, I'm genuinely delighted with the results. I'm less sure what to do with the information that you've been out here all night doing a fashion show by yourself. She looks sidelong at me. Did you have fun? I was being productive. I turn to glare at the puppet spiders. They meet my gaze with what can only be described as respectful admiration, their glass eyes somehow almost sparkling. How am I supposed to stay angry at that? I made clothes for myself and ended up accidentally creating the most elegant mannequins in the county. This is my life now. The puppet spiders are looking at me, not at the dress, at me, with their glass eyes, which are not capable of actual expression. I checked. I made 2 of them. I know exactly what materials are in there, somehow almost sparkling. It is a look of complete and unreserved admiration for the person who fed them roasted meat in the middle of the night and then accidentally made them beautiful. I would like to be annoyed. I am attempting to be annoyed. They are spiders. Technically not even real spiders. Arachnoid surveillance constructs in period dress, with thread-spun hair and glass eyes that somehow manage to imply gratitude. None of this is a good reason to feel anything other than professionally detached. The problem is that it is extremely difficult to be angry at anything with that many legs that is looking at you like that. I cannot explain this. I cannot fix it. It is a fundamental design flaw in my personality, which survived both death and reincarnation completely intact, and I have made my peace with it. I wave them off and pick up the frying pan. We can be cute together. Fine. Whatever.